We are back after a little technical difficulties with the secondary computer. But for those of you that were waiting and we're back now, we're going to allow Jeffrey to come right back and talk about Victor Hovland and about how he was having a great round, but his driver wasn't necessarily there, and is that going to equate over to the second day? Jeffrey, take two on you.
Yes, no. So I was just saying, I didn't think his driver was very impressive, and it's going to be very interesting with the rain, wind, and thunderstorms that we're going to get here, and the fact and possibility of postponement here in the next day or two. Will that be able to translate? When the ball's not running out like it should be. I also thought it's very interesting about how Liv came out. They're very upset about Phil Mickelson's pull of getting the afternoon and then morning tea time for an older guy when Tiger gets the morning and then the afternoon, and it turns out that Phil got the best draw possible, as did a lot of the Live guys who are playing very well right now. Right, you get that afternoon, great weather, and then you're going to get great weather in the morning when it's just going to absolutely open up at 2 o'clock, and you're going to be absolutely toast if you have this other draw. So hindsight's always 2020, right?
I always wonder about that, right? So when it comes to tea times, right, and who gets to go out when, I mean, how early? And maybe Jeremy, maybe you can look this up for. I'm very curious to see how far out the tea times are actually made. Do you think that this is something that they make out once the field is set? Obviously, you might have the last week. You might have some people sliding in, right? Maybe the people whoever was at the Valspar or moves up in the rankings or whatever to get
Valero.
to get into those positions. But I would have to think, excuse me, I would have to think that the tee times are set before. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, to say that the tee times are set based on weather or who the player is, I don't know. I would have to imagine there's some formula back there with some very IBM Watson type computer stuff spitting this
Well, it's
out.
very interesting that you talk about that as well too, about how who's allowed into the tournament, because they did just re-release the qualifications for next year's tournament as well too. And there's a lot of people upset because it's got a lot to do with world golf rankings, and I know the DP World Tour and Live guys aren't really qualified for that yet, and they have to kind of shake that out to see where it stands. But yeah, it's going to be interesting going forward to see who's allowed in and who isn't, and what those qualifications are. Obviously, you have past winners; those guys are always going to be invited back, forever. In terms of Dustin and Brooksy and Sergio, and those guys will always be allowed back. But
I do believe it's all. I think all major winners are invited as well. I do believe. But with that being said, like you said, there's also finishes. Top 20 finish, I believe, guarantees you an invite back. I think top 10 or top 5 gives you 5 years of invitations back. So the fact is that even if they change it, if you're there, I mean, because again, let's be honest, the people that are over at the Live that we think that can compete are previous big dog winners. They've either won the Masters before, they've won another major championship. There's probably a handful of them, maybe 4 or 5 that are they're still at the top of the game and still in the mix, as we're seeing from the leaderboard here with Brooksy. Just running away with it at the moment. Dustin Johnson showing up as well. So I mean,
I'm so happy for Brooks. I really am.
We talked about that, about how he looked so good at Crooked Cat, but then it was also the same token as like, okay, well, it is Crooked Cat, and yeah. He hasn't really had the mental like, hey, I don't know if.
Well, it's very so. And I full disclosure, these guys are going to be so annoyed with me that I'm talking about this. Full Swing, the Netflix documentary, episode 2 is a really good watch because you have Scotty Scheffler and Brooks Koepka together. This is when Scotty Scheffler's having his rise, and then it's got the mental aspects of what Brooks is going through last year before he makes his decision to go to Live, and just to see the pain and agony and things that he's going through. And he talks about how he used to just be able to play golf, and he'd play great, and he'd come home to his girl, and he would never think about golf. And last year, something changed where he was playing terrible. He dyed his hair blonde. He was going through whatever he was going through, and he's coming home, and he can't stop thinking about golf. He doesn't leave golf at the doorstep anymore. He comes home and he agonizes over it, and he's in his head. And he talks about how Scotty Scheffler, he knows when Scotty Scheffler is playing golf, that dude is not thinking about a thing in the world, right? His mind is just, I don't want to say blank, but it's clear. He doesn't have these overcomplicated swing thoughts in his head, and that's what Brooks was going through. And so to see him battle through that, make the decision that he did to go to Live, stand on his business like he has at Live, and he answered all the questions. And you know, I like the way that he's handled himself when it comes to the entire situation. And then to come out here and show up and show out, I'm really happy for the guy.
You know, I did. That was the last episode that I did watch of that, and I absolutely think that had a huge impact on the reason why he went to Live, because he didn't have to worry about the money anymore. And you know, listening to his wife on that episode as well, you know, she was also kind of saying, you know, maybe you should just do this. But yes, so yeah. maybe you know, keep the lifestyle that we're accustomed to. Maybe we'll just go ahead and take the guaranteed paycheck. Some other great rounds out there. Obviously, we have Brooks, John Rahm, you know, coming out with a -7. Now, we saw this before. We saw this before at the Arnold Palmer, where he came out the first round, lights out, and then we never heard from him again. Be very, very interesting to see how he bounces back today at the Masters, considering he is going to be in that afternoon group with a little bit of the showers, with a little bit of the rain. You know, everybody's wondering, even the commentators, everybody, you know, what is the intensity of this weather storm going to be like? Are they going to play through, or are they just going to continue to stop it? You know, when we talked about picks and stuff like that, I took some mutters. I took the people that I knew the course regardless of how it was going to play. And that's why I'm in the bottom right now, because there has been no rain whatsoever. And Jason Day, who we talked about, again, coming over. Yeah. You know, a few of us really like Jason Day, and he's continuing to put together some great numbers. I do believe he was -7 yesterday, and he's also, let's see here. No, he's -5 yesterday.
Yeah.
-5 yesterday, and he's -2 today, but he went -7 as well. So you know, another good showing.
Yeah, Jason Day. We loved, you know, a little bit of Adam Scott going forward in this tournament as well too. We did. I think somebody mentioned Justin Rose as well as a play. That are all three playing pretty well, and it's cool to see the leaderboard stacked up the way it is with all these huge names. You know, guys who I loved coming in: John Rahm, Xander Schauffele. You know, I said to me, Rory was just not it. I know the boys loved Rory, or do love Rory this week still, and there's a lot of golf yet to play. We know that the Masters does not really start until the back nine, as Koepka hits a nice one in there on the par 3. The Masters really doesn't start until the back nine on Sunday. And whether that's Sunday or whether that is Monday, it's going to be a very fluid situation with everything going on. Make sure, you know, whoever you go through, whatever you do, has a good live betting, you know, because it is going to be topsy-turvy. It's going to be a lot going on. So, but make sure you're locked in, and, you know, you got somewhere that you can hedge out if you need to for what you already have.
So, you know, with the first round, probably, I don't know if you want to call it the surprise round, or the round that really got me was Sam Bennett, right?
Yeah.
You're playing it in this. No, you're playing in the second to last group with the world number 1. I think he was with number 5 as well. And the kid went out, shot 4 under with no bogeys. He had a clean scorecard. Comes out today, birdie's number 2. He did give one back, but this kid's got nerves of steel. I mean, just think about that. Your first time at the Masters, you're at the Masters, you know, the holy grail of golf, and you go out and shoot a bogey-free -4.
Yeah, incredible round.
And then coming out today, his very first drive, you know, everybody was out, of course, waiting for that first drive, right? Are the nerves finally going to kick in? Nope. Boom. Pelts it right down the middle. Sets himself up beautifully. Just, I mean,
makes the birdie putt.
Yeah.
Makes the birdie putt on one. I mean,
yeah, he birdied one again. He was 3 under through 2 holes yesterday. 3 under his first 2 holes. Never been done. I believe I saw. Never been done at the Masters. Birdie eagle. And not only that for an amateur, but that just goes to show you a little bit of the youth factor, in my opinion. You know, as you can remember, Jeffrey, when you were a little bit younger, sometimes, you know, some things just don't bother you like they would if you have things on the line, i.e. a paycheck, a sponsorship, you know, looking to qualify to continue to be in some of the bigger tournaments. Those pressures do weigh a little bit more versus somebody that's going out there and just really just enjoying the experience. I'm really looking forward to this kid. I hope he puts together 4 good rounds. I would love to see an amateur win this thing. I think that would be completely amazing for the sport of golf.
Yeah, I see Spieth and Morikawa creeping up there at 5 under right now as well too, making a little bit of a push as they are early in their front nine. Hopefully, they will get finished before the weather plays a factor in all of this as well too. Jordan had a great round going. Obviously, he puts 2 in the drink on separate holes, and I don't know if you saw his caddy. Literally, like on the second one, he put it in the drink, and his caddy's just holding the golf ball out, like not even staring at him. Like,
well, yeah, because if you look at they were
in cup.
yeah, they were disputing the shot, and there was no reason for him to go for that. I said that. I go, who's he think he is, Phil Mickelson? Because if you remember, Phil Mickelson hit a hybrid out of that straw and hit it within like 10 feet. I actually have a signed Masters flag with him in that picture. And, he ended up winning that year. But, I mean, we're talking about the first round here, man. We're not talking about this is fourth round where I'm down by 2 strokes, which is what Phil Mickelson was. It was in his fourth round, to hit that shot. But we're talking about first round here. There's no reason to go for this. There's no reason to do that. Lay it up. Hit your wedge, go for birdie. And I think that's one of the mentalities that a lot of struggling amateur golfers have as well, is the fact that they think that they have to go for everything. And we talked a little bit on the show about that before, the difference between, a high handicap and a lower handicap. And even if you want to talk about a 20 or 30 handicap versus a 15 handicap, it's limiting the double bogeys, limiting the mistakes. What can you do? What can you salvage out of a hole? To me, he didn't need to hit that shot. His caddy, I would have to say, agreed that he didn't need to hit that shot, but he thought he could.
Taylor was not happy. Very funny.
Sometimes you got to tin cup it. I mean, I get that part. There's no laying up in Golden Tee.
It's very interesting too because you see the guys who are playing really well, right? The amateur, obviously, Bennett's playing great, out of his mind. At the end of the day, he's an amateur. He doesn't have a lot to really play for in terms of money or stuff like that, but he can have exemptions and I believe still qualifies for that stuff. Now, the live guys, I didn't know how the live guys were going to be able to compete here because I feel like their rounds aren't that competitive. It's a very laid back atmosphere. It's a very different dynamic when it comes to that tour and the way that things are. And without playing, we've all played Crooked Cat, right? That's not a golf course that we are like, oh, that's a tune-up for the Masters golf course, right? Cool, Koepka won. Nobody set a course record. Whatever. It is what it is. But to see the way that they've come out and performed, all of them, pretty much, they've all played really, really well. And it's been very impressive to me. And, kudos to them, hats off, because there was pressure, I'm sure, not externally, but probably internally for them, saying we need to come out and we need to prove ourselves that we have our reputation on the line. If they come out and they all suck, everybody's like, look, everybody who was a loser went to that tour anyway. Now if they can get a guy in the winner's circle and have a couple guys up there, I think it's really big for them. And I thought the pressure that is on them and the way that they've showed to persevere through has been great so far. What are your thoughts on the live guys?
I absolutely agree. As I'm watching Brooksy just leave another one sitting right on the lip on 12.
Right there.
He's had
four many times yesterday.
He's had at least 4 in a row where he's just nipped that edge or left it right there. I 100% agree with you on the live. And, we talked a little about this pre-show, but, I put this directly on Greg Norman. I talked a little bit about that. Greg Norman was one of my idols growing up, 1996 Masters. I was prime high school. When I started to get into it back in 92, I do believe is, it was his training videos. The Shark, man, he was just a great guy. He gave the same persona, but I put this squarely on his shoulders. Greg Norman, you are making yourself, you're embarrassing yourself. With all of your talk and everything, as Sergio said, and all this other, let him play. Just let him play. We don't need your outtakes on what's going to happen or if this is going to happen. That's it. Let the guys play. And to your point, I do feel that they had a lot of pressure on them to come in here and prove that they can still compete at that level. And when we look at like a Crooked Cat or the live format in general, yeah, it's not necessarily, cutthroat. These guys already have their paychecks. But I think actually, now that we're going to see them in the Masters, I think it benefits them more because they don't have the stress of the week-to-week grind. It's not a grind for these guys anymore. They're out there just playing. And in fact, they had the bag already. They're out there just tuning their game, man. they're out there tuning their game. They're playing in a live tournament probably and talking about, well, let's try this. Let's try this. And especially now that they're into these majors, I think that you're going to see them compete at the highest level, which we are seeing out of some of them here. The ones that we would expect to still be there, obviously. But I kudos to them, man. If Greg Norman could just, kind of like Donald Trump, you just keep your mouth shut, things would probably go a lot better. And I think Greg Norman needs to take that advice. Just keep your mouth shut. Let your players do the talking. Let your players, continue to grow your league. You just need to sit back and manage and maybe take care of some more of the stuff behind the curtains. But to your point, I'm really, really, kudos to these guys. I did like Brooksy coming in. I thought he just played lights out at Crooked Cat. And as we talked about, Crooked Cat is in very poor condition, as most courses in Florida are right now, because we just can't seem to get any rain. But yes,
no rain, and spring breakers just chomping on them, bro, every single day. It's crazy. You can't get around either. So.
And they're still charging $200 a round. To me, that just baffles me. One of my biggest rounds and biggest rah-rahs, if you remember when we were talking about picking, I said some of the old guys, watch it. They're going to come out, they're going to shoot a good round. And lo and behold, my bat boy Freddie Couples coming in at the ripe age, I think 63, dropping a 1 under. And I said, how long is this bat going to last? He does it I feel like he does this every year, man. That first round, he comes out, he drops a great score. And then about midway through the second round, it goes boop. And we know if that weather's coming in, Freddie's back's tightening up a little bit. It's going to be a little.
He woke up this morning with a tight back. Yeah, absolutely. It's already in shambles for you, for sure.
Jeremy just put on here that Norman was not invited to Masters. He wasn't invited, but I did happen to read that article from the president of Augusta in regards to this. And he also said, he didn't. But keep in mind, he's only been there twice since a non-player.
In the past 10 years.
Yeah, so I mean,
something like that. And he's been invited every single year, and he's chosen not to show up. So
correct. So again, we're going to get into the media aspect of sports in a little bit, but again, to me, it's just more clickbait, more drama.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so we do have the rain coming in today, so we're looking about 3:00 for the big stuff to start coming down, and we talked about the tee times. How late tee time yesterday, early tee time today is going to just be so huge. And we're seeing these guys just completely light it up. If Koepka, he's on 13 right now, about to hit his tee shot right down the gut. Shocker.
He'll probably make birdie.
Yeah, oh no, he's in the trees. Oh, he's out of the trees. He's all right.
That's the craziest thing to me. The trees, I feel like, save you so much on this golf course. Because they save you from going OB, or they save you from you get really good bounces off of them pretty much every single time, it seems like.
Maybe they're members bounces because, when my ball's going OB and there's a tree there, my ball seems to sail right through it every time.
What was the thing that you saw about Sergio? There was a press conference with Sergio or something like that, or?
Yeah, we're going to end on that one. We're going to bring that in within. I did want to talk a little bit about some of the disappointments day one. And, obviously one of the bigger ones is going to be Tiger Woods. Finishing up +2. His putter did him no favors early to start. But I think the one thing that we've all just kind of discussed here is we just hate to see Tiger like this, struggling to get around the course. He just does not look healthy. He's limping all over the place. Now, again, the undulations of Augusta are something serious. But, man, it's just he can still
golf shots he can't hit.
Yeah, the one, I think it was 18, right? When he had his right leg in the bunker and he was trying to hit off that side hill. I think everybody, at least I was holding my breath during that entire thing.
It was uncomfortable.
Dude, I'm like, this is exactly how you re-injure that right leg. You put all of your pivot on it. You got all of your weight on it. You're twisting on that knee. You're twisting on that hip. But yeah, he did put some birdies together on the back nine, and it looked like he was going to make a charge, right? He's going to be +1, maybe even. Unfortunately, he hits it just a little too close to that bunker and can't get up and down in 3 to make par there. So he bogeys the last hole, comes in at +2. Now he's going to be in the late tee time where he's going to run into the muck. It looks like the projected cut right now is +1. So he's going to have to go under par today. With the conditions later this afternoon, who knows? But obviously a little disappointment coming out of Woods there. Hopefully today, I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are on this. Hopefully today he can put something together. But man, it's not looking good for OLT Gray to make the cut.
Yeah, we said, listen, he drew a bad time slot, but you have to capitalize on your opportunities. And I thought coming off of Riviera, watching the way that he moved around the golf course, I thought that was a telltale sign that he could handle Augusta National. Because I just think about Riviera and I think mountains in California and so on and so forth. I didn't think about how undulating Augusta is and how much he'd be limping around everywhere and just looking completely uncomfortable. He didn't swing bad, but
the swings were good.
He didn't hit the irons close either. Everything was very pedestrian. Everything was very safe. He didn't attack anything. And I think if you're, I don't know why that is, but I do know that there had to be a different mindset from him going in. Jeremy just said the projected cut has now moved to +2.
Yeah, it's going to move all over the place, especially once these afternoon guys get going.
Absolutely. I thought one of the other, you mentioned disappointing guys. He was my only fade this week, and I know that our bad burrito boys are all over him, but Rory, was a big fade for me. He just doesn't show up, dude. And yes, he has 3 majors. Yes, this is like his completion. And listen, if you're going to talk all that shit, you got to stand on business, right? And if you're going to say all this stuff about the live guys and, go off. And I know he's still really good friends with Brooks. They play practice rounds together. And some of those guys, I know, obviously he hates Patrick Reed, which, I think everybody does. But you got to come out and you got to perform. And I just thought the way that he played yesterday for what he should have shot was, anywhere from 6 to 7 strokes worse than where he should have been. Personally, with his game and with the way that the course played. DJ making double bogey right there.
I mean, I agree. Watching him yesterday, I'm just trying to look up a stat real quick, and I don't know, Jeremy, maybe if you can find it for me, but I was trying to look to see what his past finishes were, like the past 5 finishes at the Masters, and I agree. I just don't understand it. After watching his game through the match play championships in the previous rounds, his swing looked so good. He was in control of everything. He was dropping the driver wherever he wanted. And I just saw some really, really bad shots out of Rory. And before I continue with that, back to Tiger, what you were talking about as far as, being pedestrian and not go. I think he was actually trying to shoot for some of these pins. His irons were just that bad yesterday. Because when you're looking at his aim and the shot tracer and where it started out, I mean, he was shooting at some of these pins, but unfortunately, he was either pulling it or pushing it all the time to where he just wasn't dialed in with his irons. I don't think it was necessarily a pedestrian approach from him. I think sometimes though his driver did take him out of some shots. He had a lot of punches through trees, took out getting on par 5s and 2, which, let's be honest, with that, par 5s are where you have to make your bread and butter here at Augusta. That's where you have to capitalize. They're very, very reachable if you put your ball in the right positions to avoid like what we saw at 11, where, he missed that one so far right. It wasn't even funny, Yeah. But yes,
I'm going to go ahead. And I'm going to add another guy.
Yeah. But back to Rory, it is disappointing to see how strong he is, and for some reason, you're absolutely right. Coming here, it doesn't equate.
Max Homa is in the hurt locker right now. I don't know if you see what's going on, but he is literally pitching it up there, and it keeps rolling back to him.
I just saw Corey Connors duck hook one a fairway over. He is absolutely in the pine straw in the gallery, all the way to the left. Oh, here we go. Here's Homa with his 3rd shot on 6.
It is. So yeah, you listen, Rory's played.
That's in the hole. Oh, that was almost in the hole. Good bogey save.
Sorry, I'll see it in about 3 seconds. Rory has played well historically here. He's made the cut in 12 of 14 appearances, scoring average 71.38. As our great producer Jeremy says, top 10 finishes in 7 of the past 9, including runner-up last year. I do want to add one other person to that in terms of I was disappointed in, and that was Scotty Scheffler. And we're going to look at it and say, Scotty Scheffler shot 4 under, Jeff. What are you talking about? Scotty Scheffler shot 4 under and didn't make a putt. Okay? If Scotty Scheffler plays his game, man, I don't know how anybody beats him.
He's struggling
honestly.
Today.
And he is struggling today again. I watched him shoot 4 under, and I was like, oh, that was like the most pedestrian 4 under I've ever seen in my life. Like that guy didn't play well at all, and still was only 3 back of the lead.
Another disappointment for me was Bubba Watson. Bubba Watson, he is a feast or famine type guy, right? He either plays lights out or he struggles. And to shoot 5 over was little disappointing for me from Bubba yesterday, especially like we were talking about. This course was absolutely attackable yesterday. There was some questionable pin placements, and especially like we just saw here with the homeless chip shot, with the clown hole it appears, on the green, where if you don't get it right over there, that ball's rolling completely back. But yeah, Bryson DeChambeau. I mean, shit, we don't even hear Bryson on the Live Tour doing well anymore. I think that he has gotten so far in his head with the physics of the game and way he tries to swing the ball. It's just not consistent. I mean, last I saw, he was +6, 4 over on his round today. Let me see if I can bring that leaderboard back up, see if I can find him. Oh, he's back to +3. Oh, nice. Okay, so that's a good comeback. So he's only +1 for the day now. So yeah, that's a good comeback there.
It's still outside the cut line, though.
It is, but he is only on hole 14, so he's got the par 5 15th coming up. 16, I haven't seen the pin placement on 16. That was something that I saw from Phil Mickelson yesterday. I was so disappointed in. And, that's the only thing I really don't like about some of this coverage. And obviously, I had all 4 TVs working, so I had the first through the 4th hole on the left TV. I had Amen Corner on the right TV, and then I had 15, 16 on the right TV, and then the featured groups on the middle. But Phil Mickelson yesterday on 16, that pin placement was so juicy. All you had to do is you threw it out to the right, a little bit of spin, it's going to catch the ridge, it's going to suck right back. He dropped it in the water. I mean, we're talking about wedge. Phil Mickelson, one of the best wedge players of all time.
Not even.
Yeah, and I think that really hurt him. Yes, Paul, we know. Paul just I was promised terrible weather. Yes, we know. It's coming. It's coming. But yeah, to see him yesterday with that as well. He did end up shooting 1 under yesterday, which I thought was a good comeback. But again, same thing. Missed a few putts here. It could have easily been a 3 to 4 under.
Is this playing as a par 5 today that they're on right now?
On what?
That Koepka's on. Is Koepka on a par 5 right now?
Brooks Koepka is on hole number 13.
Hold on.
No.
Par 4.
Yeah, they have a 500 yard par 4.
Okay.
13 is a par 5?
I thought Dustin Johnson's on the par 5. That's my fault. All right, I digress. Anyway. All right.
So yeah, we're going to kind of, wrap up a little bit of our day one recap here. We're going to talk about a few other events, and then we'll kind of keep plugging in on the leaderboard here as we go. One of the things that did one of the things that did come out yesterday, which, we're going to talk about the media's take on this thing, and we talked about the LIV players versus the PGA players and how it would be perceived. And to me, everything has been hunky-dory. The players have been recepted well from their former colleagues. There hasn't been any big things outside of Harold Varner III, who had to, try to get his 5 seconds of fame. But yesterday...
Why was it 5 seconds of fame?
Because is he... Okay, because he's there now, right? So how often do we talk about his name?
We used to talk about him pretty consistently before he went to LIV.
Correct. But now we don't. Okay, now he's kind of overshadowed because it's all the big boys. And
we don't talk about anybody else LIV.
Well, what do you mean we don't talk about anybody at LIV? We've talked about Brooks Koepka.
We're talking about them because they're playing a PGA Tour event.
Correct. Anyway, what I'm talking about is 5 seconds of fame is he could have made these same comments at any point he wanted to throughout his entire LIV. He could have tweeted it. He could have done anything. He waits till he shows up to the Masters to say, it's not about growing the game. It's about blood money. Okay. You could have said that at any point in time. So that's the only spark that has been.
He didn't say that.
What do you mean you didn't say? He goes, stop talking like you're acting like you're growing the game. You're not growing the game. You went there to get a bag.
Correct. Which he said he did. He said he went there to literally get money to he said it was nothing but a cash grab. He was very honest and open about what it was. He was only there to get money to change his family's lives and generations of his family's lives forever.
Okay.
That was it.
So once again, we're talking about the Masters, the biggest media coverage on the stage. If you have said that any time, at any point, I don't know what the question was that was presented to him or how this even came about, but that's the comment he chose to make. So yes, he did try to take his 5 minutes of fame because he knew exactly what would happen. It blew up the internet, it blew up Twitter, and everybody started talking about it once again.
There was an article that was done on him in The Athletic, and it also was very prominent because if you watch the par 3 contest, him, his wife, and his son, Liam, basically stole the show. Son, very energetic child, running around everywhere. They're trying to save him from running in the water. The Phenows at one point I'm sorry, that was the Rom kid. But there's a lot going on, right? And so it became very visible. Is that Corey Connors duck hooking another one?
I don't know.
Into the woods? Okay.
Before you continue with that, I just want to point out that par 3 contest, what a great atmosphere that was, right? You got guys walking down, holding the kids up. The kids are out there putting. What a great atmosphere that was.
The only thing it's missing?
Me?
Charlie and Tiger.
Me?
Charlie and Tiger. Charlie caddying for Tiger. Charlie stepping up to hit a shot on a few of the par 3s. You know what I mean? Tiger making a hole in one. Like that's what it's missing.
My hot take on this.
He's the only guy who doesn't participate in it. Why is that?
You got to shelter Charlie a little bit, bro. I mean, you got to shelter that kid a little bit. I mean, we saw what happened here at the father-son in Orlando. Like, it was just non-stop about Charlie, and I mean the kid is still a kid. You put him Jeremy. Charlie ain't carried a bag, maybe a bag to the bank. I think it would be fun for him, but I think it would just be a complete media barrage. I don't know, man. I understand what you're saying, but I think it is for a little bit more of the younger kids, though. I could be wrong.
I get that, and a lot of these guys don't even turn in scores. I know there's the lore of the par 3 contest in terms of if you win it. History, nobody's won the par 3 contest has ever actually won. The par 3 contest isn't played straight up, right? It's not like these guys are bringing other people to hit ball. They're just having fun. Like, I just the whole whatever it is, curse or whatever it is of winning the par 3 contest to me is null and void when not everybody is competing and playing at the same level.
So, anyway, but before I move on, anything you'd like to wrap up on the Harold Varner comment before we move on?
No, I didn't have a problem with any of his comments. He just said, let's stop pretending like we're doing this for some kind of
But what was the question? But what was the question?
Ambiguity. It was just an article that he wrote. And he was just saying, like...
Okay, no. What I'm asking is, how did the question come up at the Masters for him to give that answer?
It wasn't at the Masters. There was an article written about him in The Athletic.
That just dropped?
Huh?
That just dropped?
It dropped, I guess, a few days ago or whatever it was, before the par 3 contest. And it was basically about, he was just saying, like, he's using the money to try to do things for his own foundation and grow the game where he can. He was saying that he felt like it was disingenuous to say that LIV was started up and was going to be great to grow the game globally. Let's just be honest. It's not there to grow the game globally. It's there to make money.
Right, but I think from an organizational perspective, you have to take that approach. Now, the players, absolutely not. But as an organization, and you're trying to have an impact on the game, I mean, you're not gonna be in the black anytime soon on this tour with what you've paid out. So it's not, and the Saudis aren't necessarily about.
Charitable contributions.
Well, I'm just saying when we got basically trillionaires because they will never disclose like Forbes and all that. They're not going to be on anybody's list. So, there's no amount of money that tour is going to make as from their standpoint. That's going to be like, oh, we're making money over here. That's great. Let's go buy another jet. Now, from their aspect is they want to be involved in the game of golf. And again, this is all speculation. I'm assuming. If I'm wrong, whatever. I'm the uninformed fan right now. But if I'm the Saudis and I'm like, well, I'm in everything, right? I have football clubs. I have, you got everything that you want. Let's do this as well. and maybe it does grow the game in that area or in those regions because they do host a lot of tournaments there to get more people about. And I would have to say that those tournaments would not have been held in Saudi Arabia through the PGA through to the DP Tour. So in fact, it could be growing the game in those areas. But absolutely, from a player perspective, and Dustin Johnson, all of these guys, absolutely not. You're absolutely positively right. They're going there for the bag. They are not going there to grow the game. They are going there to set their families up, to have a less work week, to be able to spend more time with their families. Absolutely. The Saudis, I mean, they don't care about money. Let's be honest. They don't care if that thing turns a profit or not. It's a fun toy for them. It's a splash in the bucket. It's 7-day interest on their account. I mean, so yes. So that was my biggest question is like, how did that come up? So then I apologize then for 5 minutes of fame because I assumed it came up through an interview. But that they absolutely are not.
Yeah, no, it was just an article that was done in The Athletic about him and about him doing things for his charity and him taking the money basically that he got from Live and trying to grow the game in his own way, because he just felt like the growing the game thing is disingenuous to say, and it's
from the players aspect. I absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. But from the organizational
so
standpoint, I don't see how they could have any other view than that.
I don't know if he was talking about organizationally or if he was talking about from the players.
He had to be talking. He had to be talking about players.
But I'm pretty sure he's talking about the players. Is like you're not here to like grow the game more than you would for first tee or whatever it is through the PGA Tour. That's just not what it is.
They did actually, help the PGA Tour bump along though to get some very new prize pools and events. But moving on. Anyway, what we were talking about is Sergio Garcia was asked the other day how normal it felt to be back. And the underlying tone of the question was, how does it feel to be allowed back to the Masters? and as we talked about before, the media is just, in my opinion, the death of everything. Social media is number one, but the straight mainstream media is number two. Reporters, always looking for the clickbait article. And, I was proud of Sergio. He came out, Sergio doesn't always have the best takes, in my opinion, but he came out and goes, hey, you guys just need to stop. Everything's fine. We're happy to be here. We're getting along. You guys have to stop with this divide and everything. The whole narrative, the whole thing this entire week is Live versus PGA. This isn't a Live versus PGA event. Believe it or not, there's European players that only come here to play on certain majors or certain tournaments. We don't ever label it as PGA versus the European Tour or your players versus the DP Tour. We need to stop doing that. And I think that, again, like we talked about, it's whatever gets most clicks. It's whatever gets the buzz on social media and whatever gets them more views.
Yeah. What's the quote that we always love to say is that it's more clickable if it's dividable, right? And I want to say I was proud of you because you sent something to our group yesterday, which I get a lot of hate for my opinions on LeBron James, and that's always fine with me. I don't really care. I try not to react as much as I possibly can because obviously I've stated what I thought, and I stuck by it, and I'm not going to keep on restating how I think it breaks down for the GOAT argument, which I think is silly anyway.
That's right. Yeah, that's what I said. It's your GOAT, so we've accepted that.
I've never said that he was my GOAT. Okay. Ever. So you sent something to our group, and it said LeBron James blames the back-to-back road games on the Lakers' loss to the Clippers. And the quote that was quoted by the Score app, this was one of those scheduling conflicts in the season, and it definitely got the best of us tonight. Okay? That's the quote that was taken.
Correct, but I do want to point out the title though. The title though is what I want to point out. So yes. The title on that from the Score app says LeBron James blames back-to-back road games on the Lakers' loss to the Clippers. Blames it.
Even the clip itself that they took from his quote. This was one of those scheduling conflicts in the season. It definitely got the best of us tonight. Okay, that taken without the context of everything else that you sent. Here's LeBron James' total quote. One of the toughest games we had this year. This is about playing the Utah Jazz. Okay, I'm sorry. This is about them playing the Clippers.
Clippers, yes.
One of the toughest games we had this year. Coming off the road trip and getting back late last night after an overtime game. We started off the first half not playing Lakers basketball. We had some spurts, but not enough. This is one of those scheduling conflicts of the season. It definitely got the best of us tonight.
And I will have to say though,
all you do is take the and listen. I appreciate the fact that you sent the whole thing. Right? Thank you for being an honest
I'm an
great human
unbiased.
being
Unbiased.
you're not unbiased.
I'm completely unbiased.
But thank you for at least acknowledging what that was and sending it out. I want to give a shout out to you on that. And Ian Z's, just take it deep, bud. But yeah, this is what the media does, bro. And it goes right back to what we said about how it's more clickable if it's dividable, right? So you take that quote and it's like, oh, people who hate LeBron are going to be like, oh, see, this is what LeBron says. He's on a back-to-back and he's at home. You know, what is he talking about? He's playing a home game. You know, this is, you know, without taking into context everything that he said. Listen, we didn't play Laker basketball in the first half. We came off of an overtime game in Utah, flew back here, played the game. Obviously, second half was more of, you know, what we're about in terms of Lakers basketball, which they played, you know, 15 points better than the Clippers. But this is what the media does, and this is what they try to do, is just kind of conquer and divide and make everybody, you know, have to be mortal enemies against everything. And even when I have a guy who's one of my best friends in the world who literally hates me for liking LeBron James, you know what I mean? Like, this is where we are now in life. It's very sad to me that we can't have individual opinions, you know?
But I mean, if you look about it, it's not just sports though. That's across every single media outlet that we have. I mean, it's just becoming more and more apparent that, you know, it's just all about divide. And the more that we continue to feed into it, the more that we continue to accept it, the more we continue to acknowledge it, the worse it's going to be. When we can't look at it at our neighbors, our friends, and just see another human being, whether we can't just look at this or that, the other, without looking through the googly eyes of the media. I mean, the world is at a very, 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 very bad place, in my opinion, you know, when it comes to shoving shit down our throats. And yeah, I firmly believe that. There was a time when, you know, the news was the news. It was unbiased. It was, you know, just actual reporting. Was no agenda. You know, now you have certain people that own all of the conglomerates. They own the news channels. They own the papers. And if you don't believe that the narrative fits whatever they want to have come out, I invite you to watch the series Succession. And it kind of touches on that a little bit, but yeah, you were absolutely right.
What first episode was this past Sunday, or does it start this Sunday?
What's that? Succession? Oh, there's like 6 seasons out. I don't know. I'm still on season 2.
Oh, new season.
I'm on season 2. I don't know.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm on season 2. So no spoilers, please. But yes, that's absolutely, you know, so when I saw that, you know, I was the first one I jumped on as well, because I do like to clown on LeBron, because, you know, to me, when we're talking about back-to-back games and this, that, and the other, and, you know, taking those excuses, especially, you know, the road trips on the West Coast aren't necessarily road trips. It wasn't like they were going from Chicago to L.A. They were literally going to Utah, which is probably, a 2-hour flight.
Utah!
But, I mean, I get it. So, yes, I did feel compelled to throw that back out there to show that it's not all roses and everything out there. So yeah, we'll see. The Eastern Conference is pretty much set now. Bulls are locked into the 10 seed. I know that you said that you expect them to come out. I don't expect them to come out. I expect them to lose the playoff game, the play-in game. They're just. I don't know what they're doing. Maybe they're taking the LeBron James approach and just resting for the entire time before.
They're already locked in. They're already locked in. They don't have to play anybody else.
They were locked in after they were locked in after they got blown out by a Milwaukee team that didn't even have Giannis playing. Blown out. Yeah, completely blown out.
I just think the way that they play in their style, I think fits Miami's game as well too. If they end up drawing Miami in that first play,
their style is shit.
Well, but Miami plays slow it down basketball. They don't like to play games in the hundreds, right? And the Bulls, I feel like, can also grind you down a little bit as well too, defensively. Patrick Williams. I mean, they have guys on there who can do that. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I can't wait for it coming up. We only got 2 games left in the regular season, and then boom, we're on to the playoffs next week. So should be a good time.
I actually stopped looking at the schedule, to be 100% honest with you, after that Milwaukee game. I'm back on the wagon of we're not doing anything, and I'll tell you, it's a little bit more enjoyable.
Well, there is still a battle for the Nets and the Heat to see who is above the line of demarcation, if you will.
Regardless, coming in as the 10 seed, even if you do whatever, you're going to face Milwaukee the first round. I mean, whatever. I mean, you just whatever. It's done. So I don't know if you happened to see. Did you see the quote from Tyreek Hill? He was asked the other day about.
I did, and I don't believe it, but I think you're a great person to talk about this because you are a former, or maybe even current. I mean, you were big into the gaming community, a streamer who a lot of people used to watch and look up to, and were really good at video games. And so I think you have. I know that's the road that Tyreek wants to go. Right. One of the reasons he wants to step away is because he wants to be a full-time streamer. Is that correct?
I don't know. Jeremy sent that article over as the producer, and I happened to dig into a little bit more. He doesn't necessarily specifically just go into gaming, but he does say he wants to take the other business aspect of it. He wants to look at, he's going to finish this contract out with the Dolphins, and then he said he wants to quit the sport of football, and he wants to focus on side businesses, I'm assuming to include streaming as well. Which he is actually a pretty good gamer. I've watched a few of his stuff, and he was a good Fortnite guy back in the day. I don't know if he still plays Fortnite, but it just goes to show the availability, right, that people have. And I talked to somebody the other day. I was on the Masters page, right, and they were showing the ceremonials tee shots, and I commented, I go, it'd be really nice to have T to T coverage, which we still don't have T to T coverage. It's getting there, and this guy, this angry guy. This keyboard warrior responds to me, get a job. I looked at my phone, right? I'm like, I'm asking for wire-to-wire coverage of the Masters, and this dude's telling me to get a job.
It's 7:30 in the morning.
So I responded. I had a Nastygram set out, right? And I was like, I said, all right, so then every time I go, I'm going to educate this man because he is a little bit older. Probably is. I go, let me just, throw this out there, bro. I go, it's 2023. If you haven't figured out that you don't have to go to a cubicle or go work construction stuff in order to make a living, there's not much I can do to help you. Okay? Whatever. Kind of a neutral comment. He responds with, this guy, maybe it wasn't so bad hiring an extra 86,000 IRS agents. So obviously I'm moving bricks, right? Because if I don't go to a cubicle or a normal job, I'm moving bricks. So I gave you one more. I said, I'm going to educate you here just one last time because then I really don't have time for you. There's a 10-year-old on YouTube making $10 million a year reviewing toys. Not everything has to be illegal, bro. Have a great and blessed day at work. But yes,
it's been amazing to watch Ryan's glow up as well, too. I tell you what, man, that kid... Good for him. Good for his parents. They capitalized on the market before they got in early, as we like to say.
Like I said, there's so many avenues now that you can make money. And with an influence like he already has the notoriety. He already has the name recognition. He already has the face to be able to move over to a streaming platform or something like that. Now, I will say this, though. There's a lot of people that do stream. A lot of sports athletes, Bryce Harper, Mike Evans, Logan. I can't remember the other guys. There's a lot of Tariq Cohen. There's a lot of
Myers Leonard at one point.
There's a lot of athletes that do that do stream, and it's not easy though. It's not as easy as everyone thinks. When you look at some of these high celebrities like Bryce Harper, and I'm looking, he's got 100 people watching him. Okay, now 100 people is still a lot of people. Don't get me wrong. Okay, but when he's doing it for fun, but then you go over to like a Imperial Hal who has 25,000, or Nick Merckx that has, I've seen him have 60,000. Some of these people like QXC and stuff have 100,000 people. There's another guy out there called Kai Cent that has been the fastest Twitch following everything. He had 225,000 subscribers. These are paid subscribers that are paying a minimum of $5. A minimum of $5. So yes, there's there's different. I mean, there's different avenues out here, but yeah, it appears that he wants to do something else. Kudos to him. Football is a violent sport, man. And, it's kind of like I've always said about the restaurant industry. The restaurant industry will suck the life out of you. I was in there for a long, long time, been at many different levels. The restaurant industry will suck the life out of you. And every restaurant person's dream is to slowly get out of the day-to-day operations, at least in management and stuff of that nature. And, to be able to have these extra avenues, obviously, we're on the cusp of signing our $100 million deal with the company to be named later. And once that comes, obviously we're all going to retire. But
Yeah.
I agree with them.
I will say this. I think that has a lot to do with work environment as well too. When it comes to that, though, like I have been ready to get out of the restaurant industry for a long time, and now that I've ventured into a new challenge, it has reinvigorated my passion and my love for food and for wine and for really, really good hospitality. And I think being in a different environment where you're more appreciated, you're more looked at as an asset, you're thanked for being there. I think has all to do with culture, and I can't preach it enough. And I know I've been a broken record. People have been annoyed with me for the past 2 months talking about it, but it really is. It's very, very, very different. And I encourage people to go out there and find better for yourself.
Absolutely.
If you're out there in the restaurant industry. Now, when it comes to Tyreek Hill, I will say him with that amount of money that he's going to be offered, even at 31 years old, it's going to be very, very hard to pass up.
We'll see what the offers are, though. I mean, that's going to be the biggest thing, absolutely. But to your point there about the proper work environment, for those of you that are out there and are managers and that are in charge of these people, whether you're in restaurant industry, whether you're out, I just want to give you one piece of advice, right? People don't quit jobs. People do not quit jobs. People quit people. And it's all about the environment and the tone that you set in your workplace. My wife still works at Disney, a little bit here and there. The horror stories that I hear of just the way it almost made me want to go back into management. It's very, very interesting. So take that. So the last thing that we want to talk about here is we saw a little tidbit coming out from I think it was the Tampa Bay Times here about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which I did get to move my seats. But I messed it up again, so we'll talk about that, I guess. But the Tampa Bay Times here think that Stetson Bennett would be a good fit for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I have no idea what round that he is referring to on this, but yeah, Jeffrey, I know you're a big Stetson Bennett guy.
Yeah, he's playing great golf so far in the Masters, and I think anybody who's a dual sport athlete, like, oh, okay, well, never mind then.
Yeah,
I don't want him. No, I think his skill set could be unique. As a dual threat. What?
Max Homa just hit a complete fairway over. Pull left. Complete fairway over, dude. Not even close. It's on the cart path rolling.
God, it makes me so mad that your stream is so much quicker than mine.
Pay for the fiber, bro.
I don't know how to do that. You got to walk me through that.
You click.
I also want to pay somebody to come do an entire setup for me somewhere.
Homo's ball is still rolling backwards down the other fairway's cart path.
I want captured. I want a whole setup done for me. I'll pay a couple $1,000. I don't really care.
I got you.
I think Stetson Bennett. You didn't even put your own setup in. I can't.
What are you talking about? Who put my setup in?
You said you paid somebody to come do it for you.
Absolutely not. I did all this.
No?
No. Where would you even go to have somebody come in your home and set it up? You can point your finger all you want. If you look back at my early streams, you'll see the trials and tribulations of an old fart trying to figure out how to set this shit up.
Old guy playing Fortnite.
Old guy shows the young pups how to do it.
Good gaming. Oh man, yeah, Max ripped it the other fairway. Good for him. Listen, I think Stetson Bennett would be interesting. I think I want to add another person to the quarterback room. I don't want to spend the money on Hendon Hooker in terms of I'm not actual money. I don't want to use the draft capital where we would have to take him at. Oh, it's going backwards down the cart path.
I literally said that. Welcome to the real world. I'm living in the future.
I don't want to spend the draft capital on a guy like Hendon Hooker to have to draft him that high where he would be slotted to go. So to me, I think, yes, Stetson Bennett makes a lot of sense. You grab somebody in like the third round. If Trask doesn't work out this year, you move on. You still got Baker. You maybe go get a veteran. You still have a guy to compete backup-wise in Stetson Bennett, who's been a proven winner. I always see these graphics of like the best college football quarterback of all time, and sometimes they throw Stetson Bennett up there, and there'll be like 10 quarterbacks, and they don't even mention Jameis Winston. And I find that
that one that I said I do believe was written by a Georgia fan. So I mean,
that is befuddling to me. I'm like, homie, this dude literally lost one game his entire career set offensive and passing records all over. And Jameis has also never been featured on the Heisman House as well too, which is crazy. They've never had him in one of those Heisman House commercials.
Maybe it's because of his crab legs incident.
His allegations.
Allegations? I don't know. That's a good point. Here's my closing thoughts on this. We're gonna wrap it up for today as we get ready to some. You're so stupid, Jeremy. As we're gonna wrap it up, we get a little bit more of golf action. To me, I think that's just a wasted pick. I mean, I don't know when you would do it, especially like you're saying with Hendon Hooker, because at this point, if Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask neither one work out this year, you're going to be so bad anyway that you might as well just wait till the next year to get another quarterback, see who's out there. I don't think you waste another pick on a quarterback. I think you wasted one on Kyle Trask, is what it looks like. And now I know that we've said that, that they say it's going to be an open competition, and we'll see. But I don't think you waste another pick on a quarterback because I don't think there's anything in your reach that's going to be a generational or a, solidifiable quarterback. Now, obviously, we didn't say that about Tom Brady when he went there. But I also don't see any similarities to this as well, other than the fact that he did win. I mean, I'll just
but you need to have a third quarterback in the room, and you want to do it for as cheap as possible.
Yeah, right? you can figure that out though. Space, so. I mean, you can figure that out.
Times are tough in Tampa, bro. We've gone from hoping for Lamar Jackson to hoping Stetson Bennett drops into the 4th or 5th round, and we don't have to spend too much money.
Stetson Bennett's going to be there in the 5th or 6th round, bro.
It's crazy to me, right? Like, the guy's done nothing but perform and ball on everybody that he's played. Now, George has been more talented than everybody, but I don't know.
Well, if anything, to me, that would correlate more because you have the 5 stars that are going to the NFL, which you're going to be playing with all NFL players. So if you're playing with that kind of talent in college and you're winning and you're beating your opponents that you're being drafted against, I would think that would even, raise more good flags for him. But who knows? The NFL is a very fickle world. Who knows what's going to happen? I don't know. I'm really glad that you managed to sneak Lamar Jackson in there one more time on the podcast. As you know, it is one of my favorite.
On your bingo cards, boys.
It is one of my favorite stuff. So with that being said, we're going to turn our attention back to little Masters for the next 3 days. We got a few other things going on, a little baseball action, maybe a little basketball. When does the seeding actually start? When does that tournament start, Jeremy? Next week? Wednesday?
I think it's next Wednesday or Thursday, and they usually start the actual NBA playoffs on the weekend, right? Because it's a big to-do. I thought there was a lot. I thought it usually been around Easter, but maybe I'm wrong. Morikawa making a little bit of a move. So is Jason Day back up to 7 under. Morikawa now at 6 under. Sam Burns, a guy that was just always too expensive when it comes to like daily stuff.
A reach pick.
Like how much you have to spend on him. It's like, would you rather spend all that money on Sam Burns, or would you rather take Xander Schauffele? For me, the answer is always Xander.
Jeremy just also chimed in and said the rain's pushed back to 5 o'clock now. Oh boy.
Okay.
Could this be a Florida setting? Could this be a Florida setting where 100% chance of rain turns into 10% and it doesn't rain? Oh boy.
Let's go. Or what if they get it all in today, right? And the first 2 rounds are clean. Nobody has the advantage. Cuts made, and then it rains tomorrow, and they just postpone tomorrow, pick it back up on Sunday.
I'm down with it. Sunday, Monday, finish. I'm down with it.
Sunday, Monday, whatever.
Nobody wants to see a slop game. Not in golf anyway. Football, yes.
There's a certain amount of elements. I don't want to see Tiger out there in 50-degree weather, dude. That's not what I want to see. I don't want to see this guy having to hurt himself, and playing in conditions that are that uncomfortable,
Got to do it for the gram. With that being said, I hope everybody has a great weekend. Enjoy your Friday. Enjoy the golf. We'll be back on Monday, 11 o'clock. We'll recap the weekend. We'll recap, hopefully, the Masters. Maybe not. Maybe we'll get in another little Monday live action. And we'll see everybody and Pixelated Jeff then. Everybody have a great weekend.
Have a great Easter.